And we're live. Hello and welcome to Hex Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie ALLin, and tonight we've got a great show for you. We're going to talk about my prediction that, the Hex holders will be airdropped many, many times into the future. And we're going to talk about some safety concerns with that, as well as, who knows, maybe we'll have somebody else stop by the show. Either way, you're in the right place. Welcome to Hex Therapy Live. Roll the intro.
It's from Maddie ALLin of Hex Therapy Live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research. There's nothing that a human being could do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Thanks for tuning in, everybody. And tonight's topic, the first one at least, has to do with all the what I would call TShAirdrops that will occur, the airdrops to TShare holders. Now, people have already heard me talk ad nauseum about PulseDogecoin, which ripped way higher again today. Sometimes it was up 20%, sometimes it was up 100% day over day. And that continues to be one to keep your eyes on. It was airdropped only to Hex stakers. And in particular, the most number of coins were airdropped to people who were in the middle class of stakers. Just a couple hours ago, Trevon James, who has a popular YouTube channel. He used to be a BitConnect promoter, and he survived the fray. A lot of Hexicans watch him because he does promote Hex, as well as a number of other projects. He posted on Twitter today that he was looking for a .sol file, SOL, so that he could airdrop TShare holders. I believe the reason he did this was because he saw how well PulseDogecoin was performing, and he wants his more token project to perform equally as well. And I think a lot of people are going to catch on as long as they keep seeing Hedron being valuable, PulseDogecoin is being valuable, right? These are all experiments that are being run to see which is the most valuable set of users to airdrop something. Now, if you have Staker app, you have a little bit more of a headache of being able to claim things. We're also going to talk about why the best security practices might tell you to wait in order to claim some of these. With PulseDogecoin, you still have another 90 days to claim. And so even though I've already done it for multiple addresses and consider it safe, I would ask each of you, whenever you're ever considering claiming an airdrop, you need to make sure that you take personal responsibility for what could happen, because there are many examples of how people have gotten hacked by trying to claim an airdrop. It's true. Richard even retweeted an 11-minute video today where somebody goes through some of the types of attacks that occur on people when they try to claim airdrops. The so-called dust attack vector. And, so I've created a playlist on my channel. It's public. You can go watch it. It's got the security video that Richard retweeted today, as well as the other videos that I have. It's an airdrop playlist. And so I interviewed earlier this week the founder of PulseDogecoin, and people know I sold about half of my PulseDogecoins. I got many of them because I created so many addresses with staked Hex, because it's proof that I predicted over a year ago that this would happen, that eventually people would catch on to the idea that Hex stakers are the most valuable set of users to airdrop tokens to. We saw in the Uniswap airdrop that a large percentage of hexagons got airdropped between $1,200 and $2,000. And the people that I personally onboarded using Uniswap, I gifted them like $20 worth of Ethereum at the time, and gave them half a page of instructions on how to claim their Uniswap airdrop. And they received the airdrop, even though they only put $20 in. And so those people now that I helped them stake for 10 years, because they got the big payday bonus after the Uniswap airdrop, that single airdrop is now worth over 1 million Hex, which means that at the peak, when Hex was at its all-time high in September, they had $500,000 worth of free money. And of course, now it's more like 150,000, but hey, that's nothing to sneeze at. Am I right? So that's why I'm like addressing the airdrop issue so closely, and why I think it's so important for me to cover it, because it seems like I'm one of the only people who's like taking the risk of like telling people something, and other streamers, maybe they don't see the benefits to themselves of recommending claiming an airdrop. For me, I looked a little bit at the code myself, and took the risk, and each person has to take the risk themselves and decide whether it's worth it. There is an attack vector where, especially with NFTs, but also with other types of coins, where you could be dust attacked. Somebody could steal all your crypto because you're claiming an airdrop. And the PulseDogecoin airdrop seems to be safe. You'll be able to make your own decision about that, but there will be many more to come, I believe. That it's a prediction that I personally put a lot of money into, because it cost me a lot of money to send ETH to all these different wallets that I've set up, about 30 or more wallets, where I can get airdrops for being a Hex staker, for being somebody who used MetaMask swap, et cetera, et cetera. And with PulseDogecoin now, it seems to be paying off, and it could keep paying off into the future. And so I'd recommend, if you have stakes coming out, if you have a yearly stake that's going to be coming out in the next 6 months, maybe you'll consider splitting it up over multiple addresses if you feel rich enough to do that, and you're not going to lose the seeds. Because even some of my onboards, I've set them up with multiple wallets, and they're going to qualify for multiple airdrops. There's no better feeling in the world than contacting somebody that you onboarded with just a couple $100 or less, and telling them that now they qualify for hundreds of dollars, in some cases thousands of dollars of free money airdrops. We also know that Gnosis wallet users will be receiving an airdrop in the near future. And that's exciting to me, because I predict that one will be worth a couple $1,000s or more. The Uniswap, the ENS airdrop is coming to a close here on May 4th. And it's important that anybody who ever bought a .ENS or a .ETH address on the Ethereum name system website, that you would use that exact website that you purchased the .ETH domain from. You can go ahead and claim your free ENS tokens, which I believe are still worth a couple $1,000s. And again, I want to emphasize, there's a security risk whenever you claim an airdrop, and that's something you're going to have to negotiate and scope out. It usually pays to wait and to not be the first person that does it. And even at this point, you might want to wait for PulseDogecoin. For ENS, we're near the end of the period, and there's been many months where many people have claimed, and Richard has told people about it. And so for that one, it seems like the deadline is coming up, so go ahead and claim it. And with these, you might consider holding half of it and selling the rest for Hex, or selling the rest for money to live off of. For me, I'm definitely holding on to half of my PulseDoge, and I'm excited to see where it takes me and everybody else who decides to hold it. Because I think that having the founder on really illuminated the issue of this is somebody who is not creating encapsulated T-shares. They're not creating tradable stakes, which people know I'm against. And but in fact, they're trying to appeal to a broader market outside of the Hex community with PulseDogecoin. And I think that any type of outreach that that really hits hard on marketing and addresses, has good product market fit, that's going to be really important. If many projects come along and they decide to reward hexagons for their strong hands and to allow people who have staked Hex to have a share of more than just the future compound interest in Hex, but also the product market fit of other products that Hex doesn't address. So that's another reason why I'm so bullish on the situation. Earlier today, I went on a stream with Jim Rat Crypto right after Hexologist was on there. And if you want to check that out, I've posted a link to it in the community tab on YouTube. When you go to my YouTube page, I've posted my appearances now on other programs. And so you'll always be able to check out all the alpha that I'm dropping on every different channel. It turned out that the discussion with Jim Rat Crypto this morning was super awesome. And it even surprised me a little bit that that he and I were having such an amazing conversation that I think a lot of people, would benefit from hearing. So definitely check that out in the community tab there. Shout out to everybody who's in the live stream now. Hit the like and subscribe button, especially if you're watching now or if you're watching on the replay. Usually there's a couple thousand people watching on the replay. Me, myself, am sometimes guilty of watching a stream and liking it, but not hitting the like button. So make sure you make an effort now to go and hit that like button, because it's going to allow YouTube to recommend this stream to more people. And I'm here to pump your bags if you're a hexagon. So my pleasure to be able to do that. Thank you all for giving me a platform. Lies beneath the truth. What is going on? Hello, all. Hashtag Hex, hashtag eHex, and PLS, PLSX. That's what's up. What's up, Rick? TShAirdrop. That's right. I'm coining that phrase. Now, Johnny Chaos, who was on Hex Therapy last week, made a prediction a couple months ago, at least, that something called proof of T-shares, that he said there would be lots of airdrops happening. And so great minds think alike. Johnny and I were both thinking for a long time that airdrops would become the new norm. Johnny is incredibly entertaining, but also incredibly smart, and people should follow him for sure. But yeah, it's really cool that we both predicted that. I set up a shitload of wallets way back in the day, so that's my proof. And Johnny, of course, is always scheming on cool stuff. Like I think he set some limit orders this week for Hex and sold some $5 Hex to people. What's up, Stake Nomegs, DB Cooper, Agenda 69? Airdrops equal free money equals a happy YouTube user, happy Hex user. There we go. What's up, Hexagons, Pulsekins, Pulse Exicans? What's up, Maddie? How's it going? Let the FOMO begin. That is right. When Staker App V2? I have nothing to do with Staker App. I don't even promote it, actually. I like to tell people how to claim when they have their Staker app. I like to know about Gnosis Safe, but when? Who knows? Whenever Steph and the team finish it. Shout out to them. Good evening, fellow Hexagons. Melf Tony, showing that the price of Hex is up as well. Over 15 cents now. That's amazing. Rothko, what's going on? Chris, how's it going? Good to see you. R23, what's up? Maddie, that's me. Charles, Pulse Doge is cool AF. Right on. Jerry, how's it going? I'm happy you guys connected this morning. Let's grow our health and wealth. That's right. Smash the like button. That's right. What's up, Mr. Dolo? Very cool. So thanks everybody for being here. I sent the StreamYard link to a few different people just to see if they would hop on. Last week, Johnny hopped on and that was pretty cool. Maybe I should send it to him again. But yeah, I'm just here chatting, talking to people about, this whole airdrop situation. If you have questions, go ahead and drop them in the chat here. I've been working all day on something that I think is going to be very exciting to people. It's not an airdrop, but it's another thing that I'm known for in the community that I'm going to be doing more of. So no fair guessing, but I'll announce that in the next week. I don't like to keep secrets from my audience for more than a couple days at a time so I can get everything put together. And so, yeah, that being said, I'll have an announcement coming out in the next week that I think people will get excited about. So, Maddie ALLin, do you know if TShare rate will reset on PHEX side after the fork? It will not. The TShare rate will copy over. So if the TShare rate is 22,000 hex per TShare on ETH, then at the moment of the fork, it will copy over. And then the TShare rates will go up at different speeds on each chain, depending on when people are end staking and when people are making new stakes and then end staking those. So it'll take a while for there to be a big difference, for sure. But really what people are going to care about is the USD price as well, I think, and the ratio between EHEX and PHEX. How high do I think PulseDogecoin can go? I mean, didn't Shiba do like over 10,000x or something crazy? So yeah, let's go with that. How about that? Yeah, so I think it could go to thousands of dollars. I don't know if it will. I'm not recommending people invest in it. I mean, people can speculate all they want, but for me, I'm holding half the coins that I originally claimed. I did like a little bit of trading on it. I bought like $1,000 worth when it was at its all-time low of 77 cents ish. And then I also bought at an all-time high when the all-time high was $2.50. Now the all-time high is like over $4. I saw it get up to $4.15 today. But that's where I'm at with it. I'm not going ham, but I'm definitely interested in it. It's the first airdrop to the Hex community exclusively to the staker class that I think meets my like own ethical standards of like not including tradable shares and that sort of thing. So yeah, it is a very limited supply. There's only a couple million tokens out there now, like 2.3, and the maximum it can get up to is 12 million. People are going to be really interested in like 92 days from now, whenever the free claim ends. That will create maybe some buy pressure in anticipation of that because there will be no more supply minted. But that is also the point at which the origin address can claim their coins. In fact, anybody can run the function to give the coins to the OA, the Hex OA. And so the question is, how will the Hex OA treat that? We don't know. That might create some FUD that will sell the price down a little bit. People think the OA is going to dump, but the OA, I think, if there's, I'm not exactly sure how many coins they can claim. I think it's around 1 million, might be more, might be less, depending on how many people claim, because it gets 10 PLSD for every claim that occurs. So that'll be interesting. What will the status be of the unclaimed PLSD on PulseChain if PulseChain launches before the ending 100 days? Well, we expect PulseChain to launch next month, so we think that that'll happen. It won't be that there will be unclaimed PLSD. It will be that the contract itself is copied over with the same countdown and the same claim features. And so what that means is if you wait another 80 days, then you might feel better about your security posture, and you'll still be able to claim after PulseChain launches, but you'll be doing 2 separate claims on 2 separate chains. So it's not a bad idea to wait. I completely advocate for people doing that, because what did I do? I claimed some wallets and now I'm just sitting on it, right? So if you're not planning on dumping, then hold. If you're not sure about the security, then hold by not claiming yet. Yeah, my pleasure. Keep asking good questions here, everybody. Shout out to David Feeder, one of my co-hosts on the Tuesday night show, Game Theory Gang, and yeah. So how high could a PulseDogecoin go? I think we're going to get to $10 very quickly. I think that it could see $100 this summer. I think that it could see $1,000 in 2023. How's that? Not telling you to trade it, not telling you to buy it. I'm just saying, if you watch this channel, you probably have TShares. And hopefully you're not so greedy that you're going to trade Hex or trade money that you could trade for Hex for some meme coin, Thanks for the compliment there. Peace and prosperity for sure. Kincaid Honey, what's up? Wish I would have held my PLSD, but I'm better with Hex in the long run. There you go. Well said. Yeah, I mean, like, I'm not trying to cry about like dumping half my supply already, Like, I sold in between $1 and $2 mostly. So the OA is likely to add them to a Hex pair for liquidity and suck the value out of OLS. I'm not sure what OLS is, but out of PLSD. I mean, that's what it's doing with Hedron, but I think it might treat PLSD differently. It's anybody's guess. The reason I think it's different is because it doesn't involve tradable shares, and because it does address a marketing thing that Hex doesn't have, which is the meme coin market. And it pays T-shareholders, at least if people hold. And so I have a strong reason to believe the reason that the OA is possibly suppressing the price of Hedron is because Hedron is bad for the ecosystem, which is what I said originally, what everybody hated on me for. So if you're still watching and like you haven't had a chance to hit on me, like drop some hate so I can block you right now, because I would love to get this out of the way. I'm right about tradable shares being bad for buy pressure. I'm right that if you don't lock up your shit, it's not really locked, and tradable shares don't count. So I'm not bearish about Hex, or I'm not fudding it really anymore, because tradable shares are a lot like liquid Hex. So we already know that people having liquid Hex is like their loss, right? So that's fine. But how the OA acts is I've been fairly super precise and accurate about the OA in a number of my predictions. I predicted that that there would be $10 billion sacrifice for PulseChain. That was like the closest out of anybody in the community. Let's see. I was the first one to break the news on YouTube that PulseChain was being launched. That's pretty cool too. But anyway, enough gloating and everything. I want to find people hating on me so I can block them. But thanks for being here, David. You freaking rock. Idaho Derek, exciting stuff. That's right. What's up, Crypto Gains Club? Are you publicly supporting a particular PulseChain validator yet? I like David Feeder, and I don't know anybody who doesn't like him. So that's a good question. Endless airdrops to stakers is going to reduce the sell of pressure on Hex. Exactly. Think about how much free money dolphins and squids and sharks have gotten this year. I could tell you it's enough to live off of without even selling your interest, which is wild. I never thought I wouldn't even have to sell my Hex interest. Can you believe it? So check that out. Thanks for the advice to not question myself. Yeah, I mean, like I could be completely wrong. The OA could dump the hell out of it, but the reason why I think the OA like cares less about Hedron is because Hedron keeps paying you out for so long. It's like, dolphins got tens of thousands of dollars in some cases worth of Hedron. And yet, if their average stake length was 6 years or 10 years, that was only 20% of their stack or 25% of their stack of future Hedron that's going to keep coming out. So Hedron is just like coming out so much for so many people. That hurts the price of it as well, especially when it doesn't have maximum utility until people start taking loans and stuff on there. Did Hex Info say anything about PulseDoge being on an exchange in the future? No. And I was wondering, and I was going to ask, however, I think trading on decentralized exchanges, like it already makes a lot of sense. Like we're already set up in a way for, at least for Hex people. But now that I'm thinking about it out loud, yeah, we're trying to reach people who are outside of the Hex community. So I think really it's a good setup for when PulseChain launches here next month, because what does that mean? We're going to have millions of users coming into our world, and it's not the world of centralized exchanges. And so the next millions of people who get into the Richard Hart ecosystem, if hexagons are shilling the thing that they are holding to some extent to those people who don't want to hear about Hex yet, to get them one step closer to getting into Hex and taking that money that they have. I mean, if hexagons take the money that they get from PLSD, they put it into Hex, becomes another pump-mental for Hex. Becomes another way that Hex has a certain product market fit that other coins don't. Very interesting. But being on an exchange, yeah, it might be important in the future. But for now, I think we already have millions of DeFi users coming in hot, right? I'm sure PLSD will have pairs on PulseX as long as it's not a scam. I think it's interesting that the majority of the liquidity that started off just like Hedron was in USDC. And then now there's been an equal amount of Hex. I think Hedron maybe has the majority in Hex. But then again, I saw the founder asking people to add more liquidity to Hex. The way that automated market makers work, and this is a really good technical point, the way that they work is wherever the majority of the liquidity is, that makes a big difference. And I could get into the weeds about that, but we'll save that for another time when there's another expert on that can back me up. Definitely think PLSD is not a scam. Right on. What's happening? Good day, everybody. What's up, Ace? Maxi hit over 210 million. Yeah, I am obviously not as excited about Maxi as like a lot of my fellow Hexicans. And I think it's because I don't like tradable shares. I think it's because, I mean, I'm probably going to try to stake around the Maxi to some extent. Like, I don't want to be in a pool with people who are all getting their hex out at the same time because that's bad for the price. So, like Richard in the beginning, was talking about somebody should make a way for people to look when they're making a stake and to fill in the gaps when there's not that much hex coming out. We actually had a working version of that in go.TShAirdrops.app for a while. And then there were some changes in MetaMask and changes in Apple and different operating systems. And it wasn't possible to support it anymore. But you have to go to hex.vision and spin up the right numbers there in order to see where the gaps are, where nobody's staked. 10 years into the project, there's a huge amount there. Like before Christmas, there's a big amount there for every year. There are places where people have psychologically wanted to put their money. And there are gaps in the staking ladder of everybody. So it's good to check out and keep in mind, like, 10% better, 10% more hex. Like if there's, like twice as many people dumping at that time, then it's not a net positive. But at the same time, like this is a new experiment. Like I'm curious, just like the next person is, like how that's going to work out. In this case, we're going to see like it unfold over 15 years because the price will probably trend to like whatever the final outcome will be. It's like, 2 years before everybody gets their stuff out, like it might start to trade at a discount more in order to balance that out. Like the market in the end will like balance it out anyway. So it's, it might be a moot point. It might be fine if people have like a really good example of like where this has existed in legacy markets or something, where something similar has happened, where a bunch of people could unlock their money all at once, but it was tradable before then and stuff. That might be valuable. Let me see. What are we doing here? This is Hex Therapy, people. Hit the like and subscribe button now. I'm going to keep answering these questions here. These are great questions. Trust in the OA instead of plebs. I have faith the OA will do whatever is in the best interest of the community. Watching the OA's behavior seems to be very helpful for people. When the OA staked everything for big payday, that was definitely the move for other people, right? There were 1% of people who didn't stake. Are encapsulated stakes on RH's project list? I thought him say he might create his own contract. About like 11 months ago, maybe longer now. If you go back, I think it was 13 months ago now. If you go back on my YouTube videos and you look for a capsule of ooze from like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, it's been broken open. That's the first stream where I talk about encapsulated stakes. And so there's a lot of history to catch up on. But RH was talking to some guys who were trying to start a project, and I think he discouraged them from doing it. And then he's also made comments over the past year to say like he would have to think about it for days and days in order to really understand how it would impact the market. And that should be enough to like teach people that it's a sufficiently complicated issue. But either way, Doge and Shib have pairs on cake. Okay. Yeah. Thanks for the open towards PLSD. Too many rushed opinions. Yeah. I mean, I've been such a proponent of airdrops that like it was back when Motley, the investor, and I were both on our channels making tons of videos about airdrops and putting it in our titles, that Richard Hart decided to make the biggest airdrop of all time. And I'm not saying that he did it because he got the idea from our streams, but I'm saying that great minds think alike. And in this case, it was clear over a year ago that airdrops are the way of the future. And so, it's a vampire attack, it's an airdrop, it's a fork, whatever you want to call it. It's kind of all three. So feeder for validator, that's right. Chances of ETH hard forking into 2 chains, proof of work and proof of stake, thus giving us 3 copies of Hex. I would say it's 85% probable, because the miners aren't going away. Like, I met some miners at the Bitcoin conference, like, who run small operations here in the US. Like, I think even my cousin runs like a couple of ETH miners. There are still hobbyists in the space, and they're not, they paid for their equipment. They haven't broken even yet. So they would love to keep making money. And so if there's, they're obviously going to fork, in my opinion. What's up, Luckbox? Crypto, Maddie, question. I know you're bullish on the PulseDogecoin project. What are your price predictions on it? And are you planning on grabbing more than just your airdropped bag? I covered that a little bit earlier. If you rewind, I talked about how I bought a couple $1,000s here and there. I do have a couple limit orders set for if it drops down like below $1 or something. But really, I don't think that enough people can claim it with so much buy pressure. I mean, the OA can't claim until the end of the period. I guess if like the creators of the project sold, then that would push the price down if they even have access to their coins already. But they might not until the end of the period anyway. Like, if people are only getting like 1,200 coins at a time max, it's really hard for them to drop the price down in half. I mean, it just doesn't happen unless everybody gets together all at once who hasn't claimed yet. So really depends if there was some mass event. If like Richard went on stream and said, yeah, it's safe to claim, I had a bunch of devs look into it, and everybody claimed all at once and they all dumped, sure, it could go below $1. It could go way below that, maybe. But if it's just steady, then it's just supply and demand. And so as long as there continues to be demand, that seems good, for the price. It seems, so I think my prediction was $10. What did I say? $10 in the next couple of months. $100. No. I think I said $10 way sooner than you think, in the next couple of weeks. $100 by the end of the year, and then in 2023, it could be thousands of dollars. Who knows? Could also be zero. Thanks for the openness. Okay. Yeah. I sold most of my Hedron to grab PLSD. Worked out well. Interesting. That's an interesting play. I love this channel and all the free airdrops one day. Well, yeah, there's nothing better than free internet money. That's why a lot of people got into crypto and Bitcoin in the first place, is because they thought that they could mine it themselves. In 2017, I sold like 15 ant miners on eBay to people. So I guess I was kind of a middleman in that situation, but it's because there was so much of a demand for people to be able to run these. Whether people knew that they would be profitable or not, it was just like the sheer disbelief of, wow, I can run a computer program and it prints money out of thin air. That's a really cool thing for everybody. I'm so happy for the lockup feature Hex has. Nobody is immune to being a human being. This lockup saves you from yourself. It truly, truly does. I totally agree, Benny. I think I would have cashed out before I was a millionaire, when I became 100,000 heir. for sure, if Hex didn't have a lockup period and didn't have incentives for people to make such a long-term plan of savings. Where do we find out about airdrops for Hex stakers? On this channel. Hit the like and subscribe button. I will cover them 100%. Is it even 50-50? Do you mean like how many coins I kept and how many coins I sold? Yeah, it was about 50% of my PLSD I sold intentionally and 50% I've kept. And I'm going to see how that goes. I'm going to dollar cost average out of it if the price keeps going up as needed. But if lots of other airdrops come along and pay me, then I might hold this one above the rest. Especially since I had the founder on my channel, especially because I heard that his ethos is so respectable in my opinion. It's hard to say what my future outlook is on all this stuff. Can't tell you now that, you know, I'm not holding 50% of my Hedron. I'm holding much less than that. So do you get a copy of PLSD when PulseChain launches? Yes. Whether you've claimed it or not, until the expiration date for claims happens in about 90 days from now. At that point, then you'll no longer be able to claim on either chain. So if you claim it, you have the coins on Ethereum, you'll get a copy on PulseChain once the snapshot and the fork happen. If you don't claim on Ethereum yet, then you'll be able to claim on both chains after the fork and the snapshot. You'll be able to claim on Ethereum, and separately, you'll be able to claim on PulseChain as long as you do it before the deadline. Have you used CowSwap? No. I like Maxi. Derivatives are fun for speculation. Shout out to you, David. I'm glad you and I can both represent different positions on that. When goat swap? Who knows? Maxi locks up Hex, and that's a good thing for reducing available supply. But if people can sell it right after they buy it, then that's not really locking something up, now is it? Maxi is just a side game for Hexicans to trade it instead of being actual Hex. There you go. If Maxi is going to really mirror the value of the treasury, which if you look on Nomics, the price is higher than Hex, it seems better than holding liquid Hex. I don't think there's much liquidity there. So I don't think the price is really relevant yet. I could be wrong. I could have old information, but we don't know what the price is going to do because we don't know how many buyers there will be. And every buyer who goes after Maxi is someone who can't go after real T-shares, which you can only buy if on a Quattro. The volume on a Quattro Cinco is supposed to be 1 every 5,555 days. On Maxi, it's unlimited every 5,555 days. So people can come and go as they please, which is not how the original Hex system is set up. But that's fine. Some people want to play that game, whatever. Good evening, Peppy. Could you bride encapsulated stakes? I think you mean bridge encapsulated stakes. And yeah, you can, but encapsulated stakes suck. So I don't like them. They're bad for pumpamentals. We'll say, so for every project in this ecosystem has been a success. Depends how you define success. Certainly Richard Hart products seem to be doing well. Are you planning an airdrop to stakers? Is this the big news? No, that's not the big news. OMG, 3 copies of Hex. We already forget about the 2 copies of Hex sometimes. Imagine 3. Totally. David is still an ETH miner at home. He likes the extra gas. There you go. What's your price prediction for PulseChain, let's say 2 years from mid-May? I don't know. The reason I can't give an accurate prediction is because I don't know how well it's going to work. I don't know how many millions of people it's going to attract. I think it could go up more than Hex did, but at the same time, what do people really need it for? Because transactions are supposed to be so cheap. We don't know how expensive transactions are going to be. There are too many unknown variables. Come back and ask me in a couple months, and I can probably give you an 18-month prediction that is far more accurate. The reason why I can with PulseDoge is because the tokenomics are so understandable to me. Limited supply given to Hex holders. Hex holders are incentivized to pump it if they hold it. And, if people don't hold it, who are Hexicans, PulseDogecoin is not going to continue to outperform. I don't think. I mean, but even if Pulse token coin does 10,000x, then what? It's still only like a penny or $1. It's $1. That's cool. That'd be cool. I bet that it will dump super hard like Hex did when it hits 10,000x because everybody was waiting for that. Morning, you must be on the other side of the world. Great to hang with you. Cheers. What is PLSD? PulseDogecoin. You need to claim your PLSD before Pulse launches or before the 100-day period, whichever comes first. That's what I thought. And then I asked the founder, and it seems like you don't have to do it whichever one comes first. You just have to claim it before the 100-day period, which is up in about 90 days. You don't have to claim it before Pulse launches. I used to think that, and now I don't. Claim here, PulseDogecoin.app. Correct. 100 days from April 20th. That's right. Leaving the karaoke bar at the first Hex meetup, you tapped me on the shoulder and handed me a bottle of fish oil, and I appreciated the gesture, sir. Hey, I am so glad you were willing to grab those omega 369. The reason why I promote that, because it's a huge way to benefit your mental health and your financial health. When you take omega 369, as long as you're not on blood thinners, what it does is it improves your brain power. It allows your brain to be more insulated and able to run electricity to the prefrontal cortex. 25% of the weight of your brain is supposed to be omega-3, but if you're not eating fish or meat that's been grass-fed, then, if you're not eating the specific things that have omega-3 in it, then you could be like 50% of the other US adults or anybody in the world who is deficient. People don't have to be underweight to be malnourished. And when I started taking omega 369, I noticed a difference after about 3 or 4 weeks. Some people notice a difference after 1 week of being able to think more clearly and make better decisions for themselves and the people around them. So I would highly recommend checking it out. It costs about $5 at your local Walmart or wherever you get groceries or pharmacy or whatever. Definitely check out omega 369. Can you grill encapsulated steaks? You can try. You might be able to burn them. It's a crypto joke. How about a PLSX price prediction in 2 years? Same thing. I don't know what the demand is going to be, but everybody who comes into Pulse and tries to get their free money from their ERC20 copy is going to use PulseX. And I believe it will have the highest liquidity and the highest usage, the highest volume. More people participated, about 3 times as many people participated. So I think that it'll trade with Pulse. to some extent, but I don't know which one will go up higher faster. It depends what the Ethereum fees are on PulseChain. Or sorry, it depends what the PulseChain fees are. If the network gets clogged and stays clogged and the price of a trade goes up to a penny or goes up to multiple cents, I think people will want to hold Pulse more. And I think that it will outperform Pulse X. But I think that they will both do over a 100x in their first year. And also have wild downswings as well. What's your view on encapsulated stakes and why is it bad on pumps? Because when people don't buy something that's truly locked in the sense that they can't sell it to anybody else, basically it's like, all right, if Maddie sells it to Rick, a T-share, and it's a Quattro Cinco, it's locked for 15 years, but it's not really locked because I can sell it at any time, and I get a 10x, and I sell it to Rick, then Rick sells it for a 10x, right? We're not getting to our 100x while I'm holding it because I'm not forced to hold it. The optionality is what ruins you in the original Pumpamental. Look, there's lots of people in the chat here who are like me and would not have held Hex during a 10,000x ride. We would not have held it. We wouldn't have been able to. It would not have been possible for our plebeian weak hands, right? And the reason why we have strong hands is because we're using the smart contract to strengthen our grip on these Hex. And the tradable shares, the encapsulated stakes, they don't have the same effect on behavior because they don't have the same rules of not being able to trade, not being able to sell. And so we haven't seen a 10x, but the more the people that trade, like if I sell to Rick and Rick sells to Benny and Benny sells back to Rick, that's a ton of buy pressure. That, what if it goes through 1,000 people and it's the same T-share instead of in the current system where you have to have 1,000 T-shares that are Quattro Cinco to get 1,000 volume, right? So I really struggle with encapsulated stakes because only about a quarter of the people who I talk to understand it as well as I do. And, but then again, I've thought about it for an excessive amount of time and I've probably talked to more people than others. And I mean, I've even talked to Richard Hart, privately for a while on the topic. So, I should just let it go and not cringe every time people say oh, it's locked up. That's a good thing. End of story. But, at least it's not FUD anymore for me or for anybody else that I can tell, it operates like liquid Hex. And anybody who is saying that it operates like stake tax is only partially correct, but it's the part that they are missing that causes them to be really incorrect overall. So, it's okay. Academics debate things all the time. We can all still be friends, I hope. What is it, 10,000x of it? Well, PulseChain and PulseX both started at 1/10,000th of a penny. I was actually part of the 75 member team of game theory people that contributed to Richard's ideas for where to start Pulse. And I made some charts and graphs in that private Telegram group that were supporting the idea of 10,000x being the magic number, that it should start at 1/10,000th of a dollar, and that then when it does a 10,000x, then it'll be at $1 on both of those. So that's kind of cool that I know the history of that. My pleasure. 369, the best, especially from Omega Lace. omega LAs from Species Nutrition. There you go. Claiming before will give you a copy. Good evening, George. Good to see you there. T.me/PLSD coin is the PLSD Telegram, not operated by the creator, but I think operated by some benevolent community members. I have not joined that yet. Maddie, did the Twitter space get rugged today because the guy was promoting a project? I don't think so. I think sticker guy Win ran his spaces group for like 3 or 4 hours, and then it accidentally stopped, and then he restarted it back up. And I only caught about 45 minutes or an hour of it. I didn't realize it went back so far. I think I'm not sure if RH hopped on there or not, but somebody had tweeted something that said that he'll be on Discourse Syndicate tomorrow night for the ladies stream, which that would be cool if that's true. Is there a grading system or a certain brand of omegas you can recommend? Omega-3 itself, like Nature Valley or whatever the generic brand is, it's like fine for most people to get started on. There's other types of fish oils, certain ones that contain more krill oil. And at the end of the day, your body is going to convert what it needs into the myelin sheath that is that's the 25% of the weight of your brain that we care about that is supposed to be omega-3. So I use a certain brand that I can drop here in the links, but it's way more expensive than you really need probably. Just because you have to order it. It's like Sam's Club generic brand. My fish oil says omega-3, 300 milligrams. Is that the same as 369? So it's 3 different like types of fatty acids, and it's like fatty acid is a bad branding term or like a bad biology term because again, it's the insulation that your brain needs in order to insulate the electrical wires. It's not fat that's going to accumulate on your body. It's not acidic that it's going to like melt away your skin or something like that. So, but it's different types of fatty acid. Most people get way too much omega-6 and way too little omega-3 and sometimes the right amount of omega-9, but usually a little bit deficient. You need to look at the label and then you need to make sense of it. Normally, I recommend 1,000 milligrams of omega-3 per day with food for the first week. However, sometimes if you have krill oil or if your fish oil has different types of omega-3, you're actually going to get way too much if you take 300 milligrams because it's delivering 300 milligrams of omega-3 within a capsule that has like 1,000 milligrams of fish oil in it. And the bottom line is you don't want to get way too much fish oil in your blood. This is what Mayo Clinic says, because it thins your blood a little bit. Most people, their blood is so thick, it'll be fine. But if you're on blood thinners or if you take way too much omega-3, it can be really bad for you. You don't want your blood to be way too thin because it can cause problems with your organs. It can cause you to faint and pass out, that sort of thing, and hit your head. So it's really important to pay attention to what's on the bottle, to take the recommended amount on the bottle, to check with your doctor. For people who are taking something, so like the situation you would run into that'd be a bad situation is if you were taking like lots of pills and it says it's got 300 milligrams of omega-3, but it's also got 700 other milligrams of other fish oils. So just be careful about that. I can't give you medical or therapy advice on YouTube, but I could tell you what I did. I could tell you what was helpful for other people and what some common precautions are. But the fact that it's supposed to be in your food already is like a pretty big safety thing for me, because I'm not going to recommend something just that is supposed to be in your food when you could realize that on your own. And, for people who are skeptical of taking supplements, you could eat tuna or salmon or whatever it takes. You could eat chia seeds that are not the chia seeds that are in chia pets, which are not cleaned for human consumption, but are actual chia seeds. Or avocados, I think, have omega-3 in them. There's like a number of things that have it. So check it out. Does the people come in for their ERC20s need PLS to make swaps? Then they have to buy PLS, correct? They're going to get a little bit of PLS so that they can make their swaps. That's an issue that was identified. There would be a bad experience for some people. So they're going to get like a really, really, really small amount from the contract, like from the airdrop, let's say. Or they could also get some from freepulse.io. I think we might have the chance to have the founder of freepulse.io, both of the founders, on the show that David and I do on Tuesday nights. So hit the like and subscribe button and check that out if we're able to make that happen next week. Optionality, not good. Liquidation of T-shares value. All hexagons rock, even the unborn ones. I agree with you, Abundance Man. And I want to shout you out. You might be the particular hexagon who gave your 3 kids 3 Tesla Model 3s. And that is an epic move, whoever you are out there who did that. I think it was Abundance Man. Wrench. Maddie, I think you're right. I think that the encapsulated stakes debase the value of the T-share. And at the end of the day, though, it's like, it's the virality kicking in, like, the onboarding millions of people that, it's still going to allow Hex with all of its other fundamentals to appreciate whether encapsulated stakes catch on or not. But what I can tell you from my own analysis is that the less encapsulated stakes catch on, the better. I know that that is an unpopular opinion, but I care about this stuff a lot, and somebody has to say it, even if it's turns out to be wrong, which like nobody's been able to show me anything that tells me it's wrong. But then again, I haven't like myself made the models. I've just done thought experiments. So it's still an area that like somebody could change my mind, and I would love that to happen. But still, I think speaking to experts and them saying, as long as people buy Hex at some point, that's helpful. And when we start splitting hairs and it splits the community, I think it's okay on one level to have an academic debate. On the other hand, I think it'd be nice to have more of a consensus or have more people like actually presenting facts on both sides. Maybe that'll happen. I just Googled it. I will buy omega-369 now. Thanks for the information. I never knew the difference. It's my pleasure. That's one of the reasons that I became a crypto YouTuber, is so that I could tell people about omega-369, because I've seen it help hundreds of people. It helps me personally. And it's not necessary to use my link. I think I get less than $1 when somebody uses it, and it's not a good deal. So just get whatever you can find in your local grocery store. And, everybody who feels that it's safe to try omega-369 should really give it a try for 1 to 4 weeks, and you will notice the difference. It will be so noticeable that you'll come back and tell me, and the other people will check in and say that it helped them too. And that's just so amazing to me that people can upgrade their brains, the hardware in your brain, by taking this omega-369. Here's the link I dropped. Is there a better critter that you like to take for the omegas? I mean, I eat tuna, but I hear it's got like a little bit of magnesium in it, or some stuff from the oceans being polluted. So maybe that's not the best long-term solution. I think that there are many different sources of omega-3. Personally, I practice what I preach. That's the number one thing that I learned as a therapist after being a therapist for a while. And but that doesn't mean that I've tried every single possibility of what could contain omega-3. So I'm still learning to some extent. What I find it funny is that RH is going to launch in mid-May. Apparently, if you look into Elliott wave counts, the low would be around 23K at this time for BTC. Going to be a good pump for PLS. I hope so. That'd be a big dip, but I think we talked on the show on Tuesday for the second half about whether there might be a dip in the broader market, and we just weren't sure. Just bought it. Hey, shout out to you. Thanks to everybody who's checking out the Omega 369, because I think it's it's worth talking about over and over again. Percentage of people who lose access to Walker over 10 to 15 years will be higher than the last 2 years. Those stakes will get divided. This might be higher on ETH than Pulse. Interesting. Yeah. I also think that, well, I'm not sure I totally understand the question or the comment, but I think that when we're comparing Hex on ETH and Hex on Pulse, I think that there is a whale incentive for people to balance out the chains, the TShAirdrops rates and stuff like that. Do you have a green screen in your room? Yeah, I do. It's behind me. That's what this blue part is next to the stars. Fermented cod liver oil is the best. I don't mind spending money on quality supplements, especially since I'm on the proper human diet. And like working in a mental health clinic where I served people who were below the poverty line, I just defaulted to the basic, the Walmart brand, Sam's Club brand, anything like that. I think that my take on supplements that are premium is just that, like, sometimes they can put stuff in there since it's an unregulated market that could be addictive or could be harmful to people. I know a lot of people are way more expert than I am, so I hate to like cast a negative view on it, but to me, everybody needs a place to start, and for many people, starting with something simple and then stepping up from there might make the most sense. I don't have a thought on that, unfortunately. Chia and coconut milk makes an amazing pudding. Interesting. For some reason, the PLSD Telegram group is this now? Okay, weird. Just don't gamble on free Pulse. LOL. Certainly. Maddie, how to take some gains in PulseChain? Well, I suppose that somebody, if they wanted to take gains, would be selling. And then they would be, converting that into on the bridge, maybe back to Ethereum, and then swapping it for USDC. You might be able to get USDC that's wrapped from the Ethereum chain on PulseChain, and or DAI. I mean, DAI is like an algorithmic stablecoin that I need to learn more about, because it seems like that's what the OA likes to hold over USDC. I don't know if David knows more about DAI and how it's evolved over the years to like have more or less ETH in it and that sort of thing. Abundance Man did that. Okay. That's who I thought it was. Someone changed something in here, but that's the link for now. Okay. Make it rain. There used to be a ton of natural 369 in our food chain before we effed it all up. That's correct. That is correct. 3K milligrams of krill oil, 50 milligrams of zinc, 5,000 milligrams of vitamin D3. Okay, so you're saying all the things that you take, 2,000 milligrams of vitamin C. You want to make sure you don't overdo it on some of these, is my understanding. Haven't had a cold in 10 years. That's really awesome. I need to get back into the habit of taking 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C every day. I used to do that, and that can help for some people for their energy level and their resistance to colds. Just bought my first Hex today. Hey, that's amazing. Shout out to you. Congrats. Krill is amazing for the brain. I used it in, somebody else says, I used something in bodybuilding and business for 10 years. Omega is the best. Shout out. Okay, it's mercury. What did I say? Mercury in the fish, supposedly. What's going on, Frank? If Vitalik mentions PLS in a positive way soon after launch, the clip could get used for onboarding, or is he wise enough not to upset his boat? It's hard to say how he's going to go on that. Unfortunately, I don't have a strong prediction either way. He says that he wants the Ethereum chain to not be clogged up, but that's also seeming to keep the price of ETH high. I think it's very unpredictable what Vitalik will say. He also said that he would think that something was a scam until it survived for 2 or 2.5 years. And that's about the point where Hex is now. So is he going to update his worldview? You know, get the popcorn out and we'll see. Rocket ships. Trying to get my comments on the screen. There you go. What happens if the supply of the airdrop coins on Pulse, can they inflate? If you're talking about PulseDogecoin, it's a 1-for-1 copy. But they can't inflate more than that. I guess theoretically you could have a different number of claims. I think it would be strange for lots of people to do that, but you could have some people claiming on ETH and not on the Pulse chain. You could have some people claiming on the Pulse chain and not the ETH chain. That'd be interesting. So the supplies will be slightly different if that occurs. What's good about PLS compared to Hex is the easy sell. Well, people have Hex locked up, so it's harder for them to sell it. But that somewhat gets balanced out by like OGs having Hex coming out periodically. It's all about onboarding. And I think PLS will onboard people to Hex. Some people will stick around and lock up their money. And that will cause more pumpamentals going forward. Supplements, creatine, good for the brain as well. I can't speak to that. I bought triple strength omega 369, 3,600 milligrams per serving, 300 quart burpless, coated technology, deep ocean fish. Right on. I hope that that's not too much. You should look that up and see if that's too much. 36 milligrams is a lot. So if you're taking multiple pills to equal that, you might not want to take that much. I probably wouldn't take that much. What's up, Katie? Why do you like PLSD? When Guy does not show his face, RH shows his face. Bad advice to newbies. Did Satoshi show his face? Listen, the PulseDogecoin founder said that he doesn't show his face because he's ugly. Now, I think that that's more of a joke than anything, but I think it's a funny joke. And I like PLSD because I think it addresses a market that Hex doesn't address, and it pays TShAirdholders. Not everybody has to show their face. Whales Only did hundreds of hours of content with me and didn't show his face publicly. Some people have seen it. I've seen his face. I've met him in real life. It's a process. Everybody's welcome to like, so what? Like only people who dox themselves are allowed to contribute things that are valuable to the community. That's not a very good situation. I almost became a broadcaster for a privacy coin called Mimblewimble coin, but I realized that it had no future because some people like their privacy and people who buy privacy coins aren't going to promote something. I think it's amazing that some people who like their privacy also like to promote Hex and reward people for time locking their Hex, which helps the price and gives people free money for time locking and supporting the price, holding up the price for everybody else who wants to sell, right? So that's why, you can read the code. I mean, showing your face doesn't change that. Some people like their privacy. I don't mind. I think that the amount of money and like the way it's distributed, like offsets everything else. Just Nature Valley or Sam's Club or whatever. I dropped a link before. I can drop it again. I don't even know if they have it in stock at Amazon, but that's the kind I use, is this Members Mark Sam's Club generic. Okay, very cool. T.me/PLSDC. There you go. Thanks, Benny. Wonder if one day Facebook will be so open and connected that it will recognize your face and let you know when that person uploads the photo. Interesting. Back in the day, they thought beer was energy drinks. I'd like to see more videos on crypto security in the community for all the newbies coming in. Security is an extremely important point. You should not claim airdrops rogue style. You should wait. Always wait. When in doubt, wait. If you're not in doubt, be in doubt. You have 90 more days to see if PulseDogecoin is safe. Look up at black seed oil. King Tut had it in his tomb. It's what they called the seed blessing. Cure anything but death. That's a cool tagline. Can FUD ever be useful? That's a cool question. Can fear, uncertainty, and doubt ever be useful? I mean, so I tried to master my own fear and greed in separate exercises that lasted several months. When Hex first launched, I mastered fear by buying dips. And I mastered greed by selling tops, selling pumps only for a couple months. And then I realized I got lucky and I'm not going to do that anymore. Thank God, because I would have gotten left behind. So can FUD ever be useful? If somebody wants to buy lower, FUD can be useful, but then that gets into like manipulative territory. And so like you shouldn't be spreading FUD in order to buy lower. That doesn't seem ethical. But I can see like people with an audience like having an incentive to do that. And so that's something that as a viewer, you need to like see how honest your broadcaster can be. T.me/hex security. Awesome. I'm addicted to the hex price and it's hurting my brain. There you go. Pop a boner for crypto security. There you go. Last question. I missed how you sold a little bit of Dogecoin. Can you explain, please? Yeah, I mean, like I haven't experienced trading anything much ever. I traded Hex for like a couple months and did super well back in the first 6 months of the project. And that was part of an exercise where I didn't know I was going to do super well. I didn't know how well Hex would perform. Now, I would not recommend doing that experiment unless if you're dollar cost averaging in and you're only buying on days where there's a dip. You could get left behind, but not in the big picture. Yeah, with the Dogecoin, I bought like $1,000 worth at 77 cents, and then I sold like $1,000 worth at no, I sold. I was dollar cost averaging kind of out with half my coins, and then did I sell a little bit at $2? And then I bought higher at 250, and then now I'm just holding. I'm like not planning on trading anymore. Like I'll dollar cost average out over like a much longer period, maybe like a couple of years or something. That's my plan now. I can't tell you I'm going to stick to it because I'm not time locked. There you go. I honestly think that Hex will do better than PLS and PLSX in the next 2 years. Very difficult to tell. Can't wait to see if you're right. Papa Boner is in the voice chats in the main groups with good security advice like all the time. Hex is so bullish. I'm a 5555er. Pulse is coming. Oh snap. That's right. The day a person buys their first Hex is one of those days to be remembered, like the Berlin Wall, landing on the moon, or your first child being born. There you go, bullish. Showing your face isn't necessarily doxing yourself. I've done it. No one knows anything about me except what I choose to share. That's right. What's your favorite on-ramp for a high net worth individual? Thanks, Maddie. Sure. So either Coinbase or Gemini. Buying USDC. Taking that USDC and putting it in a self-custody wallet, MetaMask. So you send it. And then you're going to have to send a little bit of ETH in there too. And then swapping the USDC to Hex. That's my favorite on-ramp. I myself have used Coinbase. I signed up with Gemini just like make sure it was cool. High net worth individuals might have to wait longer on one exchange than the other. So you can sign up to both. And just depending on your financial history that they pull, kind of like they don't run a credit check, but they like run algorithms to see if maybe you're more likely to like be inexperienced in online payments. And so you're more likely to like send money to a scammer, send crypto to a terrorist or something. So like, that's why some people get stuck onboarding to a centralized exchange. If they do one giant trade all at once, they can get stuck for 10 days. And so it's good to know what the expectations are. And I think Gemini does that a little bit less, but I have more experience with Coinbase. So take that for what you will. T.me/Pulse Police is a cool group, guys. It checks all the coming projects code and sniffs out any scams. Yeah, I heard that they weren't happy with PulseDogecoin at the beginning, and then they thought maybe it was okay, but that's like secondhand knowledge. I'm not familiar with how knowledgeable this group is itself, but I think it's a cool idea. I'd love to know more about who's there and who's doing that. How can mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real? I know, right? That P33 token is dumping on everybody's head. Sucks. Oh, that's interesting. I haven't bought any of that. I don't think it was airdrop to anybody. I was just thinking earlier, like, oh, it'd be cool if I bought a dip on that. I don't know. I don't know if I have too much money, like, that I don't want to put into Hex. I would say absolute fear is one of the most powerful catalysts for change, and that can be good for show. Is it the founders confirmed on the blockchain or just normal sellers? We don't know. What are your honest price projections for PLSD? I've said that like 2 times already, but thanks for asking. Meme coins can pump hard AF, according to Richard Hart. I don't know. I said earlier in the stream that maybe it could go to 0, or maybe it could go to $10 in the next couple of weeks, $100 by the end of the year, and $1,000 in 2023. How's that for FOMO pants? Good question. I thought it was founders, but I didn't see any white papers. Okay. So you don't know. If the market is tanking, I'm fine with waiting for new coin to come out indefinitely. Any speculation on BTC momentum, or does an independent chain have independent momentum? Well, most of the crypto market shares liquidity pools with Bitcoin and Ethereum. That's where the majority of their liquidity is denominated in. And when you're denominated in something, that thing goes down, you go down as a function of that. Unless you have buy pressure changing things. So that's Hart's law. I kind of want to write a couple articles about it to like help explain all the different examples that it relates to, because it's part of economics that hasn't really ever even gone mainstream in economics, because most markets are so manipulated. Like in the stock market, investment bankers, they're the ones, along with the founders and CEOs of companies, that become the market makers and provide the liquidity to the stock market. So it's a complicated topic, but it's worth discussing because it really tells you a lot about how the crypto market can go. Now, Richard Hart the other day called the top in watches. And you can watch my stream from Tuesday with David Feeder. About halfway through, we go into like an hour and a half discussion on what we think the momentum is. And spoiler alert, I think it's a little bit bullish, although I'm not good at predicting these things. There's other people that are far more qualified than I am. Personally, I wasn't holding that much ETH, but the ETH that I did have, I got rid of like in the past week. And who knows? I don't care if ETH goes to 5K or 1K. I really don't care. It doesn't really affect me. So if I sold mine and it goes to 5K, like I'm cool. If it goes to 1K, like that sucks for everybody else who's holding it. But last question, I meant to say, what DEX did you use to sell a little bit your PLSD airdrop coin on? I have multiple wallets that I want to keep getting airdrops. So I paid a little bit extra, an extra 1%, and I used MetaMask swap. There's a button in MetaMask on desktop and on mobile. And I used the shit out of that because it's an extra 1%. So for your Dogecoin claims, where you're only getting out a couple $100 or at most a couple $1,000, a 1% fee on a couple $1,000 is like $20. So if that's how much, if $20 isn't a lot of money to you, and it could possibly qualify you for an airdrop of like multiple thousands of dollars or multiple hundreds of dollars, like that's the trade-off that I did. I hope it works for other people. If they, if you've got $200 worth, you do a MetaMask swap, you pay that extra $2, that seems really advantageous to me. I think MetaMask is going to do a big airdrop. But currently, I've spent a lot of money hoping that would happen, and it hasn't happened yet. Just seeing so many people last week talk about it, I stayed away. Landing on the moon. Yeah, and then if I'm not using MetaMask swap, and I actually am doing a bigger trade of anything, and I just want to get a better deal, or I've already paid for an approval, a token approval on something, then I might use matcha.xyz. I like that site. Yeah, there was mixed information when PLSD came out. First, it got straightened out. I know most of the guys in there. I can vouch for them. I still want to know who they are. Otherwise, it's second or third hand knowledge. Daraj, what is going on? Namaste, Hexicans. Key, the guy who made stakehex.today, is an excellent dev. That site is literal hex porn. I don't know if it's literal, but it's moon math. Let's call it that. Hart's Law, there we go. Rolex top is in. David Feeder, Uncle Larry enjoys listening to your input on Tuesday's shows. Draj, now let's take this with a grain of salt because I haven't read it yet, but it's coming from Draj, who's very smart, but also a comedian. Hart's Law doesn't exist. Remember, Hex pumped the hardest when its liquidity was locked with ETH and ETH was going down. That doesn't mean Hart's law doesn't exist. That means that there was lots of buy pressure then, and there wasn't sell pressure because it hadn't gone up yet. So I don't think the logic is there. I think that when things are denominated in each other on an automated market maker, that literally does bond the prices together in a certain way. So good counterexample, says David, but perhaps Hart's law applies over time the longer the pair exists. I think it's literally the liquidity of the pairs. So you need low liquidity in order to pump. You also need lots of buyers and less sellers to pump. But the fact that the OA was buying up all the Hex and other people were trying to buy Hex and people had less and less to sell because they were selling when it went down. So that's just an example of like, if it had been pegged to USDC and wasn't going down with ETH, then it would have performed even better with the same buy pressure. I saw a coin called Pulse Moon. Any correlation? I have no idea. Stay away from things that we don't know about yet. What's going on? Her Hex to the moon. Love for Richard to clarify, but I'm pretty sure it's the longer the pairs exist because it seeps into everything with time. No, it's simply they're bonded by the liquidity in their pairs. And so, I mean, we can see this on chain, people. Like, it's not a mystery. It's math. And I know it's complicated math, and I know it's like a combination of different kinds of mathematics, but I have literally talked to people who understand this really well for hours and hours and hours and hours. And so I think I have a pretty good grasp on it because I've seen like similarities in my discussions with multiple people and everything. So I just think it's not related to how long the pairs exist, although the longer a pair exists, the more people want to make the market to get the fees, right? So that just because there's a correlation between how long a market exists and the fact that the longer it exists, the less that it pumps, is not necessarily a function that just Hart's law applies more or less in a certain period. It's the amount of liquidity in the pairs and what the pairs are. And what the pairs are, like what the diversity in the pairs are. Like if it was all pegged 100% to USDC, things would operate differently compared to if they're 20% ETH, then that's 20% of the equation of if ETH goes down 10% and you have 20% liquidity, you're going to have a 2% downside, but it's going to be like squared or something because of the automated market maker. So maybe it's like going to go down 4% or something, or maybe it really is 2%. But either way, it's like, it's a ratio. It's all about the ratios is what determines how the amount of liquidity determines the amount of bonding that happens. And I really think like if I was able to write an article that really hit like every side of Hart's law, because there's so many sides to it. There's so many like pieces to the puzzle, I think. And it's I think the observation that the reason why the broader crypto markets trade in synchrony with each other because they're denominated in each other. I think that makes perfect sense. So what do you think Hex will be the day before launch? I think it depends what Richard says leading up to the launch and how he discloses when it'll happen. I think Hex will pump harder if people are given more time, but then it'll dump harder because traders will be getting in and out. Richard had originally said in multiple instances that he was not going to let people know when the snapshot was. Then recently, a couple times, he said that he will let people know. So I think we can assume that he will let people know, but before he said he was going to try to trick people, so I'm not sure. I really, and without knowing how Richard is going to handle the public information of the snapshot, that makes a huge difference. We saw that on Big Payday. There were tons of people who came in just to trade that one event. So we can't know, in my opinion, without knowing how Richard is going to handle it. And the nature of how Richard built this up is so that there would be uncertainty so that people would not trade. The less traders, the less dumpage we get later on, basically. Hex is strong and independent and wants to be free. Hex the Ripper, shout out to you. I have seen your screen name for many moons. Thank you, Maddie, for always pumping our bags and keeping us in the loop on all things Hexican. My pleasure, my friend. Hextravagant Taste, another familiar name here. If it launches tomorrow, it'll be 15 cents the day before. Excellent point. Where do I want to be in 5 years? Stay tuned. Hit the like and subscribe button. There's a few weeks of warning, then it's going to be a blast. And then a dump. It's possible we won't have another warning. We already have a mid-May. Assume that to be true and be ready. Interesting point. I hope we get 1 wink. Might be less. The less, the better. It's not launching tomorrow. Sarcastic much? There we go. We were already given a warning mid-May. We don't want folks pulling liquidity from Uniswap beforehand. Very true. Benny Blanco, is your worst nightmare webcams? People who are new, unfortunately, can't get wrenches. And the more you talk about off-topic things, the more I'm less likely to award that to somebody. But I appreciate everybody being here. We have over 115 people watching live, thousands, a couple thousand usually in the replay. Hopefully I have provided information that will be useful to you and it's been worth your while. Again, I really want to see the like button really get like totally destroyed. Like go ahead and break your phone, like hitting the like button. No, don't do that. Let's get a Maddie pump going. I'm ready for it. And hey, I've been going through Richard Hart Withdraw, and I think he might be on a show tomorrow. So that would be really cool. My pleasure, everybody. Again, I'm working really hard behind the scenes. I'm not going to leave you guessing. I'm going to announce the next thing that I'm working on. I'm going to announce it in the next week for sure. So stay tuned. Please follow me on Twitter and Telegram. I have a link, t.me/Hex Conference, twitter.com/MaddieAllin, MATIALLIN. Another place you can find everything that I'm working on is allmylinks.com/allin. And all that should be in the description below. Again, thanks everybody for tuning into Hex Therapy. I think that airdrops are the way of the future. To T shareholders, there will be many scams. You can get scammed by claiming an airdrop. You can lose all your tokens. You can lose all your tokens by getting dust attacked, by claiming an NFT, by doing any of these things. So you need to be very careful. You need to wait. And there are going to be really cool, valuable things that Hexicans are given, like Hedron, PulseDogecoin, and maybe even more to come. And so these are all things that I think are really important. If you have the financial ability, if the math makes sense, you might want to split up your Hex stakes into multiple wallets so you have more airdrops in the future, right? So everybody likes free money. Everybody needs to be careful. And we do, Melatonin is telling us we do have a tiny little baby Maddie pump here. So that's really cool. If random stuff shows up in your wallet, do not interact with it. That is absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. And I've seen lots of people on Twitter asking like, who should I debate next? And then there's like 150 hexicans in there telling them, like Jordan Belfer got told today or in the past couple of days that he should debate Richard. So hopefully that is incoming as well, right? So let me see what outro can we give people that's not going to have a copyright claim. That would be really cool. Here's one you haven't seen in a while. This would be a good one. So stake wisely, my friends. And I'll be back on Tuesday and Thursday next week at the same time. Until then, peace out.
What we're hoping and what we're thinking is that when the monetary environment changes from a fiat system where people are incentivized to spend as quickly as possible before prices go up, or else you'll be able to get less in the future for the same amount of effort that you put into your paycheck. Hex is a new system that rewards people for saving instead of punishing people for saving. And so that's one thing that I think can fundamentally change the behavior of humans, is by changing their financial environment and allowing people to experience what's possible when they have a stake in their own future, and when people can work together in order to make the future more abundant for all.